Plugfest is the opportunity for every vendor to show their new technology.
Some cell site, you have to get like all the options, RU, BBU, BCU, DU from one company, but now you can take it from different companies, build a cell site, put it together.
The key feature of this Plugfest is including the RIC, RApp, XApp and SMO test scenario.
In future, with the Open RAN approach, there is stronger competition in different areas in the network, and this may lead to an open and more flexible ecosystem.
Hello. What is it all about here? Oh, can you hear me? Yeah, okay. Hello and welcome to our session now. What is the title of our session is i14y Lab, how to test efficiently to make disaggregation a reality. So my name is Katja Henke. I'm with Deutsche Telekom and also part of the i14y Lab team. So you may wonder, what is i14y Lab? It stands for interoperability, and if you leave out the letters between the I and Y, then you have 14 letters, i14y Lab. What is it all about? It is an open lab. And an open lab, that means with a goal to accelerate time to market for disaggregated network solutions. And what makes us special is that we are a consortium of 11 partners and funded by the Ministry of Digitalization and Transport. And the consortium brings together all players from all areas needed. And there are also 3 operators at the core and 1 representative we have here today from Deutsche Telekom, and he is at the same time also the consortium lead of our i14y Lab. So, Andreas Gladisch, you are Vice President of Emerging Technologies at Deutsche Telekom, and as I said, the consortium lead as well. Andreas, let me ask you, why having 3 major operators on board at the lab is important for making network disaggregation a reality?
Yeah, good question. And let me start at a slightly different angle. So what is the ecosystem about? So what is the goal of this ecosystem dealing with Open RAN, with O-RAN? So finally, we want to accelerate the process to implement the systems into the operator networks. And that is at least one hint why it's so important that we have multiple operators working in the lab and that we even come to a solution and an approach that the operators jointly can contribute to the ecosystem. And that is, I think, the point I would like to explain a little bit more in detail. So if we look at the market and consider the requirements of the different operators, there is always a lot of overlap. So the requirements, I would expect that 70% of the requirements are more or less the same. So if we start thinking about that and thinking what is necessary to reintegrate and to integrate the disaggregated systems, so start with the requirements and with the common approach of the requirements. And then the second question is, what can we do to make a faster deployment possible for the operators? So that means we take the requirements, we convert that into a test specification, build a reference implementation, run the tests which have a meaning, a relevance for all the operators, release the test reports, and by doing that, so we can share resources, we can share the results, and hopefully accelerate the ecosystem and the development. And there's another point which is very important here. So it is not just doing something jointly, it is really to agree on certificates and to work with certificates that have a meaning for the industry. So that company or a vendor who provided the system and got the certificate can show that, and hey, this is what I have got from, for example, i14y, And that helps the vendor to be implemented in the operator networks. So, and the last point here is important. So it has to be a certificate that has a global relevance. And therefore we work with organizations like the TIP and the ORAN Alliance and jointly design those certificates.
Thank you for that. I think this is more than an insight, because it's really also the recipe how to come up with certifications. But now let's talk about results of our operational work. And therefore, I do not want to kick you off the stage, but of course, here I would invite 3 people. And talking about the Plugfest as well. So I'd like to welcome then Carsten Rossenhövel. He is the CTO and co-founder of EANTC. Then we have Lorcan Burke, a global field CTO for Telco Cloud. He is with VMware. And then we have Alexander Pabst from Rohde und Schwarz. He is the vice president for wireless communication. And I'm really happy to have you here. And I'd first like to start with Carsten. Oh, take him on. Exactly. Talking about the Plugfest we had last year at the i14y Lab. That was joint ORAN TIP Plugfest. And you were in the lead here. To not only to organize, but also to execute that. Did an excellent job. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
And the question is really, we made some progresses. Can you talk about this?
Yeah, for sure. So it was the 3rd Plugfest we did at the i14y Lab, and we are approaching the 4th one now in the springtime. And I think we're doing a great progress building the ecosystem. Because that's really the aspiration, not only qualifying single products like it's normally done traditionally in telecom service providers, but really build an ecosystem that then the operators can choose from freely, right? And that's, I think, going to be a major focus, a major part of the success of the technology in the future. If we build this ecosystem, then we will quickly have solutions that can scale, that are performing, that are manageable, interoperable, and secure. Did I do something wrong with the microphone? Oh.
Is something wrong?
No. Okay. Anyway, yeah. So at the i14y Lab, of course, in the Plugfest, we test most functionality right now. But as the previous panelists have already said, the major challenge is now to go to the performance scalability, to close the gap to production. And we're getting closer to that step, mostly also by expanding the test coverage, by automating the tests. And we already ran an end-to-end test that we're demonstrating here together with Acceleron, with Node-Edge and Viavi. It's an end-to-end test following the ORAN Alliance specification, and it's completely automated and can be run at any time. Because testing is not a one-time effort. It needs to be run repeatedly for any new software version, for any new features that are introduced. And our goal is to make it lower cost, to lower the entry barrier, to speed up the testing, and that's the way to enable the ecosystem.
Absolutely. Automation is one key to success. And I mean, we had the rig testing here, and hand it over, Lorcan. So VMware participated here in the Plugfest as well.
Yeah.
So what has been your experience, and what was your learning? So please go ahead with that.
I mean, I think very good overall, right? So we ended up with, I think, with maybe at least three or four software vendors, Aspire, Remedo, NetAI, that we onboarded for near real-time or non-real-time RIC, parallel testing with the ONF RIC as well as our RICs. So we were able to, I think, bring those up very fast because of like long history of working with Carsten and the EANTC and with you guys, and just being able to network those labs together very quickly and deliver some real results really quickly. So we had probably 3 or 4 days, everything onboarded and started to work, which, you know, that's the fastest I think we've done anything anywhere. So pretty phenomenal. So very good.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Coming then to the point, I mean, we talked about automation, but also one such issue in general is the sheer number of radios needed for this to to works, isn't it, Alexander?
Absolutely. And what would be a network without a radio? It would be, a little bit useless, because that's the whole point of it. So we, together with our partner Viavi, we've been participating in a number of Plugfests around the world over the last couple of years. We've seen significant progress. But the sheer number of different radios, if you just imagine release 16 has about 95,000 different band and bandwidth combinations for LTE and for 5G. If you take that to release 17, it's going to be 150,000, something like that. Obviously, not all of them are in use. But still in use, you have a couple of thousand. And each network operator has different rollouts in its network, different combinations. It's not, we seldomly have a greenfield installation. It's mostly brownfield, so you need to replace existing equipment. And you need to also replace it with the same combinations. So there's a need to have probably at least 40 different radio units in a portfolio if you are a O-RAN vendor and you like to replace something in the field. So with that, if you take 40 different radios, you multiply it by the number of different DUs, you multiply it by the number of different CUs, you get a very high testing effort. So it's very important in a lab like i14y to test those radios in isolation before you throw them into your interops scenario and try to find out, okay, who's wrong now? Is it me? Is it you? Is it Carsten? Is it whoever? Yeah, I mean, that's the whole point, where you need some kind of independent reference to make sure the stuff plays on its own before you put it into a network.
That is definitely, oh, yeah. The time is a bit tight. I know, I could continue because now the real discussion starts. But unfortunately, we have some limited time here. And I just wanted to ask Andreas to come back on stage, because we definitely want to hear what's on our menu card for i14y Lab for this year. And maybe I will go a little bit aside here. Andreas.
So what are our plans for this year? So as I have mentioned already, the permanent testing with this reference implementation, which will be based on the agreement between the three operators, so which is, by the way, Telefonica, Vodafone, and DT. That is key. So we really want to implement this reference implementation and come to a high level of automation there, so that we can easily change some modules, check whether that is according to the specification, etc., and release hopefully then the certificates. So, and that is the other big effort, that we need to work with TIP and the O-RAN Alliance to define those certificates, which must have a relevance for the industry. So otherwise, if it is just a nice batch or so, that is not very helpful for the industry. So that's the first part and the highest priority. However, we will continue with the temporary setups. So that is Plugfest. Carsten already mentioned we are super busy with the Spring Plugfest. Again, this joint TIP O-RAN Plugfest. And autumn is coming soon, right? So that keeps us busy, but it's a temporary event. And we definitely will support that. And the last one, on-demand testing, and I forgot to mention that at the beginning. So just considering the effort that is needed to bring such a lab into place, and all the expensive test equipment and all the other things you need to learn and understand. So it is extremely difficult for SMEs, for small companies, to contribute a specific module or a specific software without having such a lab in place. And that is our plan. We want to support SMEs, also co-financed by the German government, I have to say. So, and that we can offer them a very efficient, let's say, low-cost testing so that they can contribute to the ecosystem. And that's the plan for this year.
I think there's a lot on our plate. So please come along and meet us also at the i14y Lab. So here are some QR codes if you want to follow us on LinkedIn, on our website. In general, I would say we are already disaggregated. That's why we decided that we have all the partners not only here on stage, but also you can visit them at their booths there. Have a look at our website. We have a special landing page on Mobile World Congress. So you know already Lorcan, sorry you're not part of the consortium, but always welcome. But so if you'd like to continue the discussion, and I think it's really worthwhile, Carsten will be available, Alexander, Andreas as well, and some other guys. There's Nokia there, the other partners. So Capgemini also. And what we did also for this year, if you like, we thought a little bit of gamification is always nice. So look at our landing page. We have created some patches. And if you want to go with us on a mission, be part of that. And with having said that, I wish you a wonderful evening for today. Further discussion, my wish for and for all the guys, so that we bring that really to life. And thank you for coming to our session. Thank you.
And booth area of Deutsche Telekom if you are not a participant of our closed event. For those of you who are, Claudia Nehmert will kick off this year's traditional analyst event, and with Sean Collins, a great host, will guide you through it. For everyone else,